Today on r/PettyRevenge. Ignore the sign and do your laundry late at night. I don't think so. I live on the first floor of a 3-story apartment complex where my unit is right next to the shared laundry room. We're technically only allowed to use the machines between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., but people sometimes do their laundry as late as midnight. I have no problems with it as I work late and can't hear the machines when my linen closet and bedroom closet doors are closed. Recently, one of the dryers had been making a horrendous screeching noise when it's running. It's so loud that I could hear it everywhere in my apartment. The nearby units possibly hear it too. I had the manager schedule a technician to come by, look into it, and leave a sign on the machine saying to only use it between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. out of consideration of the neighbors. My neighbors have been great about it, and some even made a point to run the dryer when I'm not home. There's a guy on the 3rd floor that seems to only do laundry once a month. He accumulates so much clothes to wash that he uses all the washers and dryers on each floor, but takes forever to remove his clothes from the dryer. He's been confronted and reported a few times for this, and I thought he stopped until the other night. It was almost midnight when I got home from work. I was walking to my unit when I see the guy getting into the elevator. That's when I hear the distressing wails of the dryer echoing down the hall. I went to the laundry room and saw that the dryer was started 3 minutes ago, with the big sign saying the hours of operation still posted. I wasn't in the mood to deal with the shrilling noise digging into my brain and ears for the next 57 minutes, so I opened the door to stop the machine. Then closed it so the timer will continue, but the machine won't run. I got to sleep in peace and quiet that night. Before I went to work today, I checked the dryer. The timer had reached 0 and the clothes were still inside, damp with a bit of a smell to it. I closed the door and left for work. I got to the entrance of the apartment building when I see the guy exit the elevator. I said nothing to him as I watched him walk towards the laundry room while carrying a basket. Enjoy spending another $4 washing and drying your clothes. For our next story. City wouldn't pick up my yard waste, so I sure showed them. A few weeks ago I did some trimming on the large bushes and trees in my yard, cutting the branches that were hanging a bit low or a bit too far out from the landscaping. I ended up with 2 large yard waste bins full of branches, which I put out by the curb for pickup. The next day when I came home from work, the city had picked up the yard waste for everyone else in my neighborhood, just not mine. I couldn't figure out why. The bins were full but not overflowing, and they weren't overly heavy, as I was able to easily carry them out to the curb. The branches were between 3 to 4 feet long at the most, and I'd left similar bins out before, and they always got picked up without issue. I even checked online to see if I'd inadvertently violated any sort of restrictions, but didn't see anything that could explain it. I sort of wish the pickup people would have left a note telling me what the problem was. I was kind of annoyed, but not enough to call and complain about it. So I emptied out the bins in a discreet area to the side of my house. And for the past few weeks, every pickup day, whenever I wheel the regular garbage bin out to the curb, I've also been putting one of the yard waste bins out, with exactly 1 branch in it. And they have been taking it each time, which means they have to stop the truck at my curb and someone has to get out, check the bin, see that the only thing in it is 1 branch, and then take the 1 branch. This is slowly, in tiny increments, creating more work for them than if they'd just emptied the 2 full bins to begin with. I intend to keep doing it until they acknowledge it, or I actually need the bins for yard work again, or until I get bored, which probably isn't going to happen. Let's dive into our next story. Make fun of a teenage girl for having a tampon fall out of her backpack, then don't expect me to buy stuff from your kids' fundraisers. Years ago, I worked at a municipally owned youth and family community center in a temporary position during the winter season. This was during a period in my life in which I had been laid off from a job and was looking for a permanent and long-term job. This facility had on-site skating rink and swimming pool in areas that had things like foosball tables, ping pong tables, arcade games, pool tables, etc. We had long park-type benches set up and tables with chairs for people to sit and talk. Since it was winter, the local youth hockey league was using the facility, and the daughter of one of my coworkers, Melissa, played on of the teams. This will come into play later. I mostly worked at skating rink and gaming area with Melissa and other coworkers, Toby and Calvin. Calvin had a son who was involved in other youth sports league in the area. It was common for teenagers to come to the community center to hang out and play games or watch hockey. Our rink office had one of those roll-up window where we could also monitor to look towards the gaming and lounging areas. One day, one of the regular teens visited the youth center. It was a teenage girl named Sarah. Very polite girl and often came with a mini backpack. One of the park benches was in view from the rink office. Sarah was there talking with a woman who often visited the center. The woman was sitting on the bench. Sarah's backpack had a side pocket and it wasn't completely zipped. A tampon fell out of the pocket. My coworkers and I saw it. They laughed at her for the tampon falling out. I walked out of the office and went over and picked it up and handed it to Sarah. I did tell my coworkers that they shouldn't laugh at things like that. I was irritated with my coworkers. I know it's not a big deal. But women and teen girls need period care products, and they shouldn't be shamed for having the products with them, and if something falls out from a purse or backpack, they shouldn't be laughed at either. I'm a male who grew up 3 sisters, and my mom drilled into my brother and me that we shouldn't laugh at them for going through something that is part of their bodies. After that, I was polite and professional with my coworkers, even though they were a holes about Sarah having a tampon fall out of her backpack pocket. Melissa and Calvin were the primary breadwinners in their households, and they often mentioned occasional money struggles. Melissa's husband was on SSDI, and she stated that he wasn't getting a huge amount. Since her daughter was in hockey and it was an expensive sport, she would do fundraising along with the other hockey parents, like selling stuff like C's candies, drink koozies, and other small items. Towards the end of the season, Melissa was fundraising so her daughter could attend a 2-week summer hockey camp in another state. Calvin's son was involved in youth basketball and was wanting to attend camps as well and trying to sell fundraiser items. They would ask me to buy stuff, and I used the excuse that I was going through money issues since I had lost my previous job. They usually were okay with me saying no. The reality was that I wasn't broke. 5 years prior, I inherited $75K through an uncle, and put most of it in savings and some in my checking account in case I needed to cover living expenses in case of a job loss or other issues that could arise. I also got a severance check from my previous employer and a few weeks of unemployment money before I started my job at the community center. If Calvin and Melissa hadn't been a holes about Sarah's tampon incident, I probably would have bought whatever stupid stuff their kids were selling. Another part to my petty revenge involved the local figure skating club that also used the skating rink. The local figure skating club was a blend of adults and children who put on mini-shows, did lessons, practice routines, and such. The members were all very polite and did fundraising as well, so the kid members could go to camps, skating shows, and other places. 2 weeks before my temp job was to end, I put an order for a couple of boxes of C's candies in with the head figure skating coach, and told her to give me the boxes on the final night of Job, which was the same night as the figure skating club's mini-show. I was cleaning up around the lobby and rink office areas when the skating club coach came over and handed me the candy I ordered. Melissa and Calvin saw that I purchased candy for the figure skating club's fundraising efforts. I laughed on my way home that night. Lesson of the story is don't be in a hole about someone, especially a teenager having a personal care item drop out of their backpack. It might bite you in the behind if you expect others to support your kids' little fundraisers. Our last story for today. Told a family that stole my water bottle that I had an STI. Reposted because I was told it would be better suited for this subreddit instead. Context: I, 22 female, work at an amusement park during the summer holidays to make some extra cash on the side. My job role involves checking people's tickets, placing them onto the ride, checking some safety restraints, and watching over the ride course in case of an emergency happening. While I was checking safety restraints, I noticed that one of the customers had stolen my water bottle. The man stole my water bottle and passed it to his wife, who then gave it to their child daughter. I briefly noticed it happen out of the corner of my eye. I don't know what came over me. I guess I was just tired due to having to deal with countless tired, exhausted, and cranky guests, and I thought that the family needed to learn a lesson to not steal people's water bottles. I walked up to the man and I told him that he shouldn't have stolen it. He looked panicked and apologized, and asked if I wanted it back. I declined, and I said that for his information, I have mouth herpes before showing him a mouth ulcer I had, not from herpes, but from accidentally biting my mouth while eating. He looked panicked and then told his wife, who broke down sobbing, and she called me an a-hole. While telling my friends and family about this, they all seemed rather split. Some of my friends thought it was a really funny prank to pull, while a lot of others in my family think that while the family was in the wrong to steal my property in broad daylight, I shouldn't have given the family such a scare from a serious disease. Some questions I got asked on the original post and I couldn't answer. Was it a disposable or refillable water bottle? It was a $10 refillable water bottle. I remember a commenter asking on the original post if it was a Stanley or another trendy water bottle of sorts. It isn't. I don't get paid enough to afford a glorified $50 cup. How do you know he stole your water bottle? Is it possible he thought it was lost? My water bottle has a rather unique design. I got it while on vacation in Japan, and the design is very cute. Definitely kid-like to some extent, which could explain the reasoning as to why he stole it. I doubt he thinks it was lost property, because why would you drink out of a water bottle that you're gonna return to lost property anyways? Where was it located? While the ride is operating, I stand near the electrical booth, close to the ride exit. The bottle is located in a small corner, in a rather obscure location. If someone were to try and take it, they would have had to go on the ride to access the exit, and since you can see the exit from the entrance queue, the family would have definitely seen me drink out of it at least once. Also, other than the occasional 2 minutes I am away, I'm always either standing near the bottle or holding out of it or drinking from it. And those are all the stories we have for today. See you tomorrow.